FIRE, which is the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, analyzed the speech codes, Vivek, of 486 colleges and found nearly 88% of those schools restrict free expression. That's a percentage I think a lot of people would find surprising.
I think it's really problematic. As I often say, the best measure of the health of a democratic society is the percentage of people who feel free to say what they actually think in public. And I think we're doing abysmally on that metric. But, John, the thing that's more concerning is when you're now talking about kids or people who are college students who are barely old enough to be past being kids, it's not only affecting what they say in public, it even affects the way they're able to think independently. That is what education was supposed to be about, a space in a university setting to be able to exchange your ideas freely, to figure out what you even actually believe by having those ideas tested. Universities don't serve that space anymore. And frankly, I'm worried about a generation of what happens when you get adults that graduate from educational settings where they weren't allowed to not only speak freely, but even think freely, what that portends for the next generation of Americans.
Yeah, college is all supposed to be about developing critical thinking, how you look at the world around you and you develop your own thoughts about it and you analyze all of the different issues. But if you're self-censoring while you're doing that, your worldview is going to be very limited.
I agree. I mean, even I'm ashamed to say even my alma maters, places like Harvard and Yale, these were different institutions at the times where I was a student back then. Even in the course of a decade, these institutions have changed. And I worry about what that means for the future, because if you tell a group of people they cannot speak, that is when eventually it shows up in other ways. That is when they scream. And if you tell those people they can't scream, eventually that is when they start to tear things down. And that's why I think a culture of free speech in this country, starting with inculcating it in the next generation, it's not just a precondition for the pursuit of truth. It's not just a precondition for freedom. I think it's a precondition for peace over the long run in a diverse democracy like ours. And I think that's why we need to go back to awakening that, starting in education, starting in primary education, and even in our university culture as well.
Laura Belts, who was the author of the report, believes that restricting free speech is going to have a detrimental effect on these higher education institutions. She wrote, quote, colleges have nothing to gain and everything to lose by maintaining policies that restrict free expression. They waste time on investigations into protected speech and leave themselves vulnerable to litigation and attacks in the court of public opinion. I mean, some of these vaunted educational institutions are now appearing to at least a large segment of the population to be so woke and so focused on the wrong things that they're not even considering sending their children there.
That's right. I mean, the mission of an educational institution is to educate the next generation. And I think that even institutions that say truth or the pursuit of truth used to be at the heart of their mission, they've now moved towards enforcing a monolithic agenda. And I think if you're the leader of a university, you have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what is the purpose of your institution? Is it to advance one conception of social justice or progressivism or a political vision, or is it to actually educate young people in this country to think independently? And if it is the latter, we're going to need a 180 turn in the university culture in most college campuses across this country. And I hope there are new universities that pop up to compete with those legacy incumbents, or else it's not going to happen.
All right, Vivek, always great to get your take on things. Have a happy holiday. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.